think we're live here. So, I just got back from my appointment. How's it going, Diamond? I just got back from my doctor's appointment with the psychiatrist. Sorry, you got mosquitoes out here. Regarding my bipolar, manic depression, or actually it's clinical depression, bipolar disorder, and severe anxiety disorder. I mean, I've got quite a few diagnoses, but those are the ones that are hurting me the most, along with some PTSD that I have, from growing up. So, um, seems like everything's going to go through. I'm hoping that it goes through. I've just been dealing with a really, really bad, I don't know if it's a cold or I want to say maybe it's a sinus infection, but oh no, no worries. Um, a lot of people don't realize, that I deal with being, bipolar. So I have really good moments, and then I have really, really, really terrifyingly bad moments, um, where my rage and my mania gets so bad that like I just see red, you know, and I don't want that, for my wife, my daughter. I don't want that for my friends, my family. And honestly, it's a bad neighborhood in my brain, to be living in. So what I've done is I've I've eliminated every pharmaceutical that was being prescribed to me out of my daily regimen. So I'm no longer taking uh, any of these like SSRIs or antipsychotic medications. And I've been off them for several months. And I've been trying to take care of my I've been trying to take care of myself, I guess more of like a homeopathic way, doing things all natural. Um, watching my diet, watching watching what I do as far as interactions, whether it be with social media, the news, because that ramps me up really, really bad. Like I've got the good old what do they call that? Jewish guilt, like I feel guilty all the time. So um, and I'm probably one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet, but I have this really bad dark side to me, and I guess it seems like I feel like I have a purpose to serve in the world, Yeah, the news is just horrible. It's so much negativity, and then the problem with that is a lot of these news networks they repeat the same thing over and over again. So for someone like me, it's like reliving the moment, reliving the trauma, and so it just amplifies and amplifies until it just gets bigger, 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 until I get to the point where I cave and I'm just like, I've had enough, I'm done. Turn it off, turn this shit off. Like, absolutely, I can't stand I can't stand being around negative people. I can't stand being around drama, um, which is weird because I've always been an artist. I've always been a performer, um, and I've always been the seeker of attention. I've always wanted people to congregate around me and draw to me. And so I can go out and I can do something like play a show. If I go out and do music again, I'm totally fine. I can get on a stage and do what I got to do because to me it doesn't affect me that way. But when it comes down to like a person to person basis, for some reason I get a really bad I guess it's more like it's like a cross between social anxiety disorder and agoraphobia, being afraid of wide open spaces. So it's not so much the interaction of a lot of people, it's the interaction of less people. um I don't know, maybe it has something to do with, that the fact that I like to be around crowds of people, and I like to be the center. Narcissistic personality disorder, of course. But yeah, so I just saw my psychiatrist again. I saw her the last time I saw her was in April, and so we just updated the paperwork and resubmitted everything. But the last physical I had, like a medical doctor, the doctor didn't even actually perform a physical. Damn, those mosquitoes are really bad. He didn't even perform like an actual physical. He just had me come and stand in his waiting room, and he just looked at me for a little bit, typed on his computer, and after maybe like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I was out of his office. And it kind of irked me because I realized that, with a disability determination, they're I think that they're trying to find something physical. I mean, yeah, I suffer from physical pain, um, but I don't take uh, I don't take that into account when I consider being disabled or a disability. I consider um, my mental status, because I can go and if I sat down at a desk and I did office work like I would usually do, working from a computer or working on a computer, I can go in and I can do that office work. But then I get to a point where people, they, bosses or other people, they start like, hey, get your numbers, where's your sales, if I'm doing sales, uh, or they'll overwork me to the point where uh, I snap, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing my job, I'm meeting my criteria, I'm good. I don't understand why you're causing this, conflict. You're basically stirring the pot for nothing. And so then I start to take it personal, and that, it builds. It's like stacking off of an already broken cart. And eventually, the wheel breaks, and I'm like either snapping and getting violent, or I snap and then I get fired, or they use that as an excuse for why they're letting go. Like they'll say it's like performance, my attitude, buddy, any attitude. And so when I do get explosive, they use that as a countermeasure to really put the nail in the coffin, and get rid of me. And out here in Arizona, we have a right to work state, which it's the stupidest rule I've ever heard, because when you hear right to work, you think, okay, I have the right to work. Well, they make it more like the employer has the right to keep you or let you go. So with my mental illness, that tends to also have a dramatic effect on um, my relationship with employers. Most of the employers I've left, um, I would say, were in good standing, but the ones that I was let go from, those are the ones that I really either had a bad interaction with them, um, like where I was working 21 hours a day, going home for the 3 hours I had to take a shower, take a nap, eat something, and then go back. I would get off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be back, at 5:30 in the morning to open the building back up. And then I ended up falling asleep at my desk. Um, but I was on my lunch break, and I told my secretary that, and she didn't report that, in those words, that context, to my boss. So it came off as I'm sleeping at work instead of I'm on my lunch break taking a nap at my desk, so I'm not off the floor, which I had done times before. No one ever had a problem with. But those are the kind of interactions that I've had, where and I got fired over the phone. That was the weirdest thing. And that wasn't the first time. Another time I got fired over the phone because I took FMLA leave when my grandmother died in 2015. And I was taking FMLA, and instead of doing 4 days of FMLA, I split it up over the course of a week. So the first 2 days I took FMLA, and then I came back to work. I want to say, and then I took another day off for FMLA, and then I came back and worked 2 more days, and then I had like a last day, or I think it was like a 1-1-1 at the end, kind of like back at work, off for a day, back at work, off for a day. Either way, it was 4 days off, total that I took over the course of the 7 days. And on my last day out, because I had come in, they weren't doing any work at the office. I come in, I did an audit. I said, okay, I'm heading back out for my last day out. I'm going to go ahead and go and finish, my grandma's funeral arrangement and help the family. And the next thing I know, these guys are cutting me loose over the phone saying that I wasn't meeting performance, that I wasn't doing my job, that there was work that was not being completed. And I made it very clear that I came in and, had to explain to these people the situation of what was happening. And they said, well, you're not meeting your sales quota, you're not meeting on delivery with the product. And then they fired me over the phone. And these were people that I trained to do the job. Like, one of them was a manager, another one was a supervisor. I had been running that department. I made them $25 million annually. The first quarter that we ran that program for LMS, we had $7 million that we had made in annual profits, quarterly profits. And then it turned into like 25 million ish per year that they were making off that program, that guy Mike. So when I train these other guys, hi Tammy, I've had PTSD and BPMD since 8 years old, and the abuse never ended, still dealing. Been disabled with fibromyalgia since 1995. On 2016, I stopped all meds of 12 a day. You sound just like me. Yeah, Tammy, they had me on, at one point I had like 11 different medications, 10 or 11 different medications that I was taking a day. Everything from like Depakote, Doxepin. Who else do we have here? So we still got Diamond. Tammy's here. So yeah, they had me on like Depakote and Doxepin. I think it was Respirodol or Respirodol. Another one was Paxil, Luvox, Luvox, I believe, which is, or I think it's actually for fluoxetine or fluvoxetine. You were a human guinea pig, huh? Yeah, it really does feel that way. When you're dealing with going to a doctor just to get a referral so you can go see a psychiatrist, and then to go to the psychiatrist and then they tell you, oh, we'll medicate you, and then 30 days later they drop you, or 45 days later actually was what happened to me. I've been seeing I just started seeing what's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Started seeing a psychiatrist for, I want to say, about 2 months, and didn't have any issues. And then on like the third month or second or third month, it's all a blur. They decided to kick me off of their, kick me out of their office. Basically, they said that I didn't have an appointment with them, and then they turned around and said that they were trying to bill my insurance, and the insurance that I had was actually secondary insurance that my wife had. And they were originally supposed to be billing only the state, because at the time I had what's called Access, which is like a Medicare, Medicaid program out here. If you don't make enough money, they'll give it to you for free. And so they said, well, we only bill Access, the state one. I said, okay, well, that's fine. I have that on there. And I said, well, no, but we can't see you as a patient because you have secondary insurance. And our office was trying to run your insurance, and it was running and coming back as denied because it was running under the secondary. And I said, that's up to you guys. You need to stop running it on my secondary. It's okay with your wife. You really like to talk more about this? Oh yeah, absolutely. If you if you have Facebook Messenger, you can shoot me a message there. I'm on the same, same name there. I see the email address. I can probably pull it up later. But if you can send me a message on Messenger, I can keep in touch with you there. But yeah, so they were trying to bill the other insurance. Oh, Hangouts works too, or Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter as Robert Arden Gunnell Jr. Or you can also just look up Nedragun on Twitter. So anyway, so they basically said that I couldn't go to their office anymore because they saw that other insurance. But I was already seeing another physician within that clinic for several months before I started seeing a psychiatrist. And they had no issue with the secondary insurance. They always billed just to the state. And then my wife's insurance was like a supplemental to pick up, the tab for anything that might have been left over. And they decided, that they were going to make this decision based off of the fact that I had a secondary. And I called the insurance, both of them, and I let them each know what was going on. And they said that they had no authority to try to bill for a secondary. They're only supposed to bill the primary insurance that's indicated on the plan. And so what they ended up doing is they said, well, he has a secondary insurance that they're paying out of pocket, and so now they're not qualified to come to our office, which was a bunch of horse shit because they knew from the beginning, like I said, for like 6-7 months that was what was going on. So, and I've had that happen. A similar situation happened about 3 other times now when I'm going to see like a different psychiatrist or what's the one? Magellan. Magellan is one out here. Simpatico is another one that we have out here. Um, New Leaf, I think, is part of one of those two now, possibly. But anyway, so I was going to these different resource clinics, for treatment for my bipolar and my mania and everything, and they all basically just um, they all either rescheduled my appointment, and without notification. I would come in and they'd say that, yeah, I missed my appointment. Like I would get there at 10 a.m. when they said be there at 10, and they said no, your appointment's at 8. I said no, my appointment was at 10, and my wife had it on her phone. I had it on mine. Our calendars were synced up. We called the office the day before to verify, and then we go in the following morning, and all of a sudden, it's 8 a.m. instead of 10 a.m., and we get there just before 10, and they say that I'm late, I missed my appointment, bounce me out. Then I had to go to another psychiatrist, and I'm seeing a pattern, like they get your foot in the door and they bill your insurance for the services, and then they roll you back out so you can see somebody else and they can do it again, or they get you back in and say you missed an appointment like they did at this one place and keep me on a loop to the point where they're just billing my insurance every time for an appointment that I'm not able to make because they keep rescheduling or they're saying that it's been canceled uh, without any notification. No phone, no text, email, like no communication whatsoever with any of these state companies or corporations that are working, um, or these clinics, I should say, and doctors that are working with the state. Let's see what I'm missing here. Make us feel like aliens in our own country. Man, are you sure we're not twins? They've been robbing us blind. Yeah, and it's really sad because you're not the first person I've heard say that, and I'm beginning to see a pattern. That they're just basically just they're not handling the mental health issue anywhere. Doesn't matter where you go, they're not handling it correctly. So you've got people that, like myself, that have to manage this here seems to be okay, but my mental health makes me feel like my physical health is deteriorating, and it's a big it's a big mental block. It's what's the word for it? It's horrible. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one close. And if you see me later, you can. All right. I get no government help. Didn't know there was a 5-year cutoff date after working, so they kept my hard-earned money. Oh yeah, and so there's another thing I wanted to mention, real quick before we get off here. I'm sorry. Uh, with that being said, so with disability, the place that I went to is called Myler Disability, Myler, and they are located, I think, in Utah. And they've been handling my case, for the last couple of years. And what ended up happening recently is they told me that, or not Myler, but Social Security. When I called them because I was trying to get some updates on my account, Social Security said, well, it seems like your appeal might be denied, and what we can do at this point is you can file an appeal, but we'd strongly recommend that you just start a new claim. And I was like, wait, what? You want me to start a new claim after I just waited all this time? And now you're telling me that I'm denied, and instead of advising me to file an appeal and speak with them what was going on, uh, they advised me to start all over. And so that's another thing that you need to watch out for out there. Social Security Administration will advise you to start a new claim rather than help you get the appeal process moving along. Have you just start all over so they don't have to pay you for that time that you've already invested into it. If you start a new claim, you lose everything from the beginning. Yeah, and that 5-year cutoff, that's the worst. It is the worst, Tammy. Exactly. Yeah. I am. This is my second time through. This is my first time though using an attorney, and I want to say we're probably about a year and a half to 2 years in, somewhere in that range. But yeah, it's just horrible. I need to start doing more with what I can, online or with music or art, so I can start making some kind of money. So I gotta be able to take care of my family. And, that's not how I was raised. I was raised to, take care of my wife and daughter, not have my wife, work tremendous amounts of hours and take care of us. And we're barely scraping by. And at the moment, we're living with family, so um, because we lost our place, and when they didn't renew our lease because of the new owner that bought the building. So thanks a lot to that person. That's another one of those situations that felt like it was very malicious towards me and my family. 444 and TNT Dynamite. All right, well, actually, jump off now. I appreciate y'all being here, though. And we'll see you next time. Peace.